Charter Connolly Fáilteoireacht a Connolly.
Gur míle mágad a Cahirlí agus gur míle mágad a Costa agus an Chenador a socht an sesiún seo agrú tá sé tilse agus gur míle mágad. Rugú agus tóga mé ngáile agus tá an simagam I cuasaí tráchta agus réití inharaní. Thank you very much, Chair. As someone who spent 17 years at a local authority level, I know the ins and outs of it. And so I'll be really as quickly as I can and then ask a few questions. Just let me make a few observations. In those 17 years, I watched an outer bypass go down a cul-de-sac. Now, whatever about one's view of an outer bypass or a ring road, my difficulty was no solutions were put forward because all of the eggs went into one basket and therein built up a problem. On top of that is the management structure, no reflection on management, but actually in my time, I'll take the first 13 years, we had 7 city managers, either acting or permanent. So the structure of that doesn't lead to long-term solutions. And when the outer bypass went down a cul-de-sac, the next effort was to get another road. And Arab were brought in to look at that road and public transport was put onto it, not the other way around. And certainly in an ideal world, what I would have loved to have seen is Arab brought on to say, we have a major problem here in a medieval city, we have serious responsibilities under climate change, we have a fantastic city, what are the solutions now in the next few years? However, that's by way of that. And by my final observation, I spent almost 2 days in an oral hearing in relation to the Seamus Quirk Road. I was subsequently accused by a certain person of delaying the road. My whole effort, and Councillor Colette Connolly's effort, was to ensure that 4 roundabouts did not go in to a road about 1 kilometre and something along. I think the distance was mentioned. 2 kilometres. They were going to put in an extra 2 roundabouts in that and a flyover in the sky. That was the type of engineering solutions, and I spent my time making sure the flyover didn't go in and 2 extra roundabouts. And ironically, the effort of management in the last number of years has been to take out roundabouts. Okay, so be that as it may, my questions are coming down now to the National Planning Framework. And built into that, when it's going to be published on Friday, not discussed in the Dáil, mind you, but published, I read it. Sustainability, placemaking. Galway City is one of 5 cities picked to grow more 50% of its present population. 50% of the development must be in the inner city, on the sites in the inner city. And so, when light rail was ruled out, without proper analysis, in my opinion, it was ruled out on a basis that the city wasn't going to grow that big, and there wasn't the same demand for development on 50% of the city, which will now, if we comply with it, will lead to further population. Also, our obligations under climate change have utterly increased. So I haven't heard one of you gentlemen, and yourself, Ms Graham, talk about our climate change obligations and what you have done to proof your road and your solutions against our climate change legislation. In 2005, as Mayor, I had the privilege, all the councillors unanimously voted to put in park and ride in the city development plan against the then management's advice. They said it wasn't necessary, it was premature. We put in park and ride in the development plan east and west of the city. We're now in 2018, it was never rolled out. Those objectives were never complied with. So we've had a situation where we've let traffic build up. Now, I appreciate, and we all want more and more development in Galway, but it has to be done sustainably with a sustainable solution. So my specific questions, and it was asked already, park and ride. A, why wasn't it rolled out? B, when is it going to be rolled out? On east and west of the city, what applications were put in for funding for park and ride on the east and west of the city since it was put in 2005? In relation to a master plan for the city, which ties in with sustainable development and transport, we have Kent Station, which the manager might correct me, is 12 or 14 acres, prime land in the middle of the city. We have the docks, he might give us the acres for the docks. These are public lands. In addition, we have the other private lands. There is no master plan in relation to the development. There is no master plan for that land tied in with transport. In relation to the example that the manager has given in relation to the application that's pending on private land that was sold off by the docks and the port company, it's for 2,700 offices, or workers working in offices, 2,700 with no accommodation. The accommodation is for students coming from abroad. Now, why do I mention this? Not by way of criticism, but to say the plan that we're going to publish on Friday has sustainability written into it. The actual operation on the ground is not happening. So, if I go back, park and ride, where is it at? School transport. On the last count, I counted over 30 schools in the city within a small little radius, including myself, just recently removed from that responsibility of driving them to school, putting an idiotic car on the road to take my children from the Claddagh up to Scoil Gaeilge, less than a mile and a half. I had no choice. There was no other solution to let my children get to that school. That's repeated as we speak all over Galway. 30-something schools. I think it's great. We need a living, vibrant city. Both in Irish and English, it's Cathragoich and okay, but we need to lift up that school traffic. It's been repeatedly identified that peak traffic is a problem, contributed to substantially by schools. What's the answer to that? Who's made that? In relation to yourself, Mr. Neary, I've travelled abroad, had the privilege of looking at different things, and transport mobility plans for each big industry was a major factor. You might come back on that. And in relation to that, in relation to, Mr. Connolly's solutions, you know, I see a comment here, and it's actually a frightening comment, and thank you for your contribution, all of you for your contribution. But you say, for example, a recent initiative in Boston showed an 18% reduction in traffic congestion using these new techniques. And that percentage, 18% reduction, is precisely what's been called an N6 project is going to lead to. You go on to say that is the estimate change that will happen as a result of 16.5 kilometres at 30 million plus per kilometre for a solution that is going to see us in huge trouble and will still leave the traffic. So we have, as my colleague mentioned, Oranmore, Athenry and a train service. What has happened in relation to increasing the frequency and using what's there as a commuter service? Where is that at? What's happening with that?